Hello and welcome to Destiny 2 PC Beta Let's Talk. You've got myself Apps here and I'm joined by our living guardian himself, Sir Dave.
Hello.
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 We've done this once, sort of. We had a look at the PS4 beta and I can already hear people tapping away in the comments. Oh, you've already done Destiny 2 Let's Talk. Is Dimp Digital now becoming Dimp Destiny?
I wish.
Well, come 6th of September, it may well be the case because people might just get flooded with Destiny 2 content. Who knows? When that actually arrives, it could be all hands on deck. But me, yourself, and Adkins all jumped onto the Destiny 2 PC beta, which was rolled out earlier this week. And I think it's safe to say we were all very impressed with what we'd experienced, and I thought it'd be good just to get you on with your I wouldn't call it a potato PC, but you'll give us the rundown of the specs, but a PC that really shouldn't be anywhere near being able to run this game and being impressed with the performance. So can you give us a rundown of what your PC specs are so we can get a bit of context for the guys at home?
Yeah, so this is I got this PC. Well, I rebuilt it about 5 years ago, so it's all 5-year-old gear, and even at the time,
all Sir Dave handwork. This is all you did it yourself. No cheaping out like I did and getting someone else to do it.
No, all hand built. It was an upgrade to an existing PC, but I think I pretty much swapped everything out, so it was essentially a brand new.
Just kept
thing
the case
at the time. Yeah, 5 years ago though, and as I say, when I bought it, all this stuff, it wasn't top of the range gear. It was an attempt to refresh what I had. With a view to doing some more periodic upgrades later. So I've called it a potato PC because the first thing that the PC master race are going to turn in their graves about is it's an i3 Intel processor.
Good grief.
An i3 2160, so it's not top of the range by any mark. A Radeon HD 7850, which, I mean, you really want an NVIDIA these days, but 5 years ago this was a fairly good card.
Yeah.
And 8 gig of RAM, and I'm on Windows 10.
Cool.
So I got this beta with the expectation that I might get about 20 frames a second, and I could put to bed the idea of getting Destiny on the PC.
That is, I mean, I'm no expert, but those who are in the know will, you can. 5 years ago, not top of the range. It's not getting. I mean, you're struggling to run PlayerUnknown's Battleground, aren't you, at the moment?
Yeah, that frame rate is choppy and inconsistent is probably the worst part about it. Sometimes it feels a bit smoother than others, but it's really not very playable at all.
No. When you look at how, I mean, you can see screenshots or videos of side-by-sides of the two games. Destiny looks like the more demanding game. Destiny 2, certainly. It looks like far more demanding a title to play. But you are happy to report that you had seamless gameplay almost. Yeah.
Well, I used the Destiny, like the built-in FPS counter.
Yes.
And it did seem a bit suspicious, some of the numbers it was giving me, but for the most part, it was capping out at 60 FPS, which is capping there because I'd put VSync on.
Yes.
So, yeah, really impressed with that. I mean, occasionally it would drop only in like one or two really intense areas. So in the story mission, there's a section where you're fighting waves of drop ships that keep flooding in. It dropped to 30 for a couple of bits of that. And I think at one point in the strike, again, dropped to 30 for about, 20 seconds, and then back up to 60 for the remainder of the strike. So really impressed at how well optimized this engine is from a company who haven't been really focusing on PC gaming. I mean, obviously Halo had come out on the PC, but since, well, at least the last sort of 5-6 years, they've been focused on consoles.
Yeah, I mean, most of their work has been on the Xbox. So when they moved over with the original Destiny, that was console only as well. So I was getting the feeling that they had just binned off Master Race and they were going to focus on the console. So it was a little bit of a surprise when they did announce that Destiny 2 was coming to PC and that it was going to go through. Is it Battle.net now? They keep changing the bloody name of it, Blizzard, but it's Battle.net to me.
Yeah, anyway. It's back to being Battle.net again, I think. They tried it being the Blizzard app for a while, but
yeah,
I don't know whether it was because they want to open it up to non-Blizzard titles, but it's certainly gone back to Battle.net now.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I was thinking, to be honest, are they going to be bothered doing this? It's getting released, over a month after the console release. What's this going to be like? But it sounds like they've really put the work in to have this running nicely. I mean, my PC's obviously an i7 1070, so I came in with the expectation that it would be able to run this fairly well, and it did for the most part. I've only got an old TV monitor capable of 60 at the moment, so it was only capping out of that anyway. But it was beautiful to play, and I was really, really impressed with it. And I was really happy to hear that you, on the Potato, were getting a very playable experience, because I was not expecting that whatsoever. Any idea what sort of witchcraft that Bungie have employed here to get this running on a machine of that ilk?
I don't know what the witchcraft is. It's worth pointing out that it's an Activision-owned company called Vicarious Visions who have done the PC port.
Oh, okay.
So they've got... I'm just looking at their game history now, though, and a lot of their game history is still console-based. They did Skylanders stuff. They did some of the Guitar Hero stuff.
Right.
A couple of the Transformers games on the DS, of all things.
Right.
So I don't know where they've suddenly got this prowess for PC game engines, but yeah, between the two of them, they've somehow pulled it out of the bag.
Yeah. Did you have to lower any of the settings, or did Destiny auto-optimise for your card and CPU?
Yeah, it had auto put me on a custom setting. I don't know, I didn't go into detail of what it had actually done, but I preemptively just dropped everything down to low. You can go to lowest, so I wasn't on the rock bottom. I just went to low to see what I could get, and that's where I kept it. But even on low, it looked great. It's so well sort of optimized that even on these low settings, it still looks good, and it ran smoothly. So I was very impressed.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear. I can't remember I think mine were on sort of high most of the bits I looked on, but to hear that it looks good in low anyway is great. And Wednesday the 6th, so we're less than a week away from the console release. We know we're getting 30 FPS. They've said they're not going to even patch it for Pro or even the Xbox One X when that comes out to increase the frame rate. It looks like if you're getting Destiny 2 on the console, it's 30. Has this tempted you to go for the full suite? 'Cause we know you're getting it on PS4 and Xbox One. Is PC now a viable potential for you in the future? Because it's coming in obviously a little bit later in October.
Yeah, I think I probably will end up getting it, because unfortunately I'm addicted to this game. But also I spend a lot of time sat at my PC staring at my Steam library wondering what I could be playing. And I think this is a game that I could be jumping in and out of now and then. I'll obviously be investing in a PC upgrade, because while it did run really well for what I've got, I'd love to be able to get a much better quality picture to go with these 60 frames per second I'm getting. So I'll probably start investing in probably a new processor is the main one.
Yes.
And then expect to go for all three on all three platforms. Sorry.
That is a sensation, really, considering how I just didn't expect this to happen.
Well, it's the worst outcome of this beta for me, because it's getting more and more expensive, isn't it? I only wanted to see it not run so I could not buy it, and I've ended up committing.
And now buying a new CPU to get the most out of it.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive title.
Christmas is coming up soon as well. That's going to just be...
Load up that wish list.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great to hear. So those of you that didn't get a chance to go on the beta, I think it is closed now. But if you were worried about a poor port, which happens, we've seen it with games in the past where the PC version doesn't get the love and attention it deserves, and you get some poor results. It looks like, based on the beta, that this is one of the better ports and probably one of the best PC ports out there, considering what it's been able to run on in our hands-on experience.
Yeah, and it's not just the performance either; it's the sort of array of options they've opened up to PC players, which is what, to be honest, it's what you expect in a PC game. But being able to change things like the field of view, turn on and off some settings like motion blur and depth of field and all of that, and all of the sort of customizability they've added to the PC version will go a long way, I think, to satisfying your master race, who would probably be quite disappointed if they just got a nicely running but still console game.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's its own PC kind of environment, and like you said, with all those options to tweak, they're not cutting short on anything on there. Mouse and keyboard, that was one of the other things I guess that I wanted to mention, that I'm not typically a mouse and keyboard gamer. I've obviously dabbled in and out depending on the time of life that I've lived and what I've had in front of me, but I must say it really did feel leaps and bounds ahead of using a controller for the first time in a long time. I mean, I know we was trying to play PlayerUnknown's Battleground earlier in the week, or maybe it was last weekend, and I was struggling with the controls for that, but for an FPS I come back to the same point that I don't think there's any better way to play it than with a mouse and keyboard. You mentioned that there might be a tiny, small, hint of criticism, or maybe not criticism, but a problem in that, are there enough keys accessible to bind for the powers and whatnot? Is that something that you've managed to overcome the more you played the beta, or was it at the end, okay, that might be a little bit of a hindrance?
I think I largely overcame it. The problem is you've got, and I was a bit concerned about, well, not concerned, but surprised about Bungie's default bind, in that something like melee, which is, just to punch someone, was down on the C button, which is, you're having to come off your movement controls or bring your thumb up from below to get that, and it's a bit of a fiddly one to do in a panic in PvP. So the first thing I did was just move some stuff around. I did still end up, I think I had my super on the Alt key, which is a bit of a weird one to clutch in a panic when you're under fire, but largely settled on what I think is quite a good setup. I could probably put a couple of things on the mouse buttons on the side, get around it, so not the end of the world.
No, the fact that you can customise the binds sort of gets you out of that particular hole. Any changes from the PS4 beta that you played and the PC beta? I mean, I literally only played through the story mode on the PC just because everyone was gushing about how lovely it was, and I thought, I've got to have a go at this. So I didn't really delve into the detail of it. Was there any changes between the two betas that you noticed?
Yeah, and it's one of the things we talked about in the previous Let's Talk on this, was the recharge rate of abilities and supers.
Okay.
So I think I'd commented that the super recharge was something like 3 minutes slower than in Destiny 1. And the grenades, you sort of had one every minute and a half or something like that. Well, it looks like they've addressed that. The super was noticeably quicker in that you could get 2 in one Crucible game if you were lucky, whereas previously you'd struggle to get 1. And the grenades, I didn't do any timings on it, but they definitely felt like they were more readily available, so I think they've just adjusted that a little bit based on the feedback there. The class abilities, like the dodge for hunters and the wall for titans, didn't seem noticeably different, so I think they may have been untouched, but I don't think they were really the problem. It's just the abilities that have been nicely tweaked. And then in this beta, not really a change, but an addition to it, they gave a different Crucible map. Nice. One of my issues with the map they had for console was that it was so cramped, and the objective that everyone was fighting over was in the middle, that you sort of ended up all rushing to the same place, and then you had sort of people in and around you getting in behind, that kind of thing, and it just felt really chaotic. This control map was a lot more open. All the objectives were around the outside of the map, so there was sort of a natural flow as people moved from one area to the other, and you had more chances of a one-on-one rather than just getting team fired from all over the place. So I think that silenced some critics, I think, of the 4v4 game mode, where I think everyone thought it was going to be a bit too manic. And it was a much more enjoyable map to play, I thought.
Excellent.
So that was good to see.
Excellent. Yes, that is good to hear, especially around not only the maps, but going back to the abilities and the supers charging a bit quicker. I think we could all do with those having a few seconds shaved off. So that's great to hear. They are tweaking and listening to what people undoubtedly would have raised with them after the console betas. Well, we are days away now as we record this. I mean, how excited are you for the sequel to one of your most played games for a very long time?
Really looking forward to it. I've tried to not look at too many of the spoilers that are popping up on Reddit and things.
Little note on that. data miners have already leaked the story, so be careful if you guys out there are, for whatever reason, searching for things that could be considered that. Just don't click on anything because it's out there if you want to read it.
But yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Should be good. Got some time booked off to get stuck in.
Hunter, Warlock, or Titan?
Well, I've got 3 platforms to choose from, haven't I? So probably one on each. But I expect I'll start on a Titan because that's what I've played the most of in Destiny 1. But then when we're playing on the PlayStation, I'm probably going to go Hunter.
Ooh,
the new Warlock options look good, so I don't know. Yeah. Maybe give that a go. The thing with the Hunter is it felt really good on PC.
Maybe that's the one for that then.
The mouse and keyboard made it feel really quick to move around and aim, and sort of when you're up in the air, be able to do things rather than slowly panning the camera around with a controller. So
yeah,
maybe that's one to say for the PC, or maybe I'll just play it all over again on the Hunter when it comes out in October.
I think that's the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I think so.
Excellent. Right, well that's it. I think that'll be the end of our pre-coverage to Destiny 2. Thanks for joining me on both of these editions of Let's Talk. And obviously you guys at home, if you're excited for Destiny, then sit back. It's days away. Enjoy it when it comes out, and no doubt we will be returning at some point with either some opinions, or at some point in the future there will be a review of Destiny 2 on its way. So obviously if you're interested in that stuff, hit the subscribe button and make sure that you're clued into what we're up to. But nothing more for us to say here apart from thanks for your time and ta-da.